So Uncomfortable Beats actually started as a weekly event. It used to be named Comfy Beats because we were running it at a venue we had with really comfortable lounge chairs, not too different from the one I'm sitting on right now. So it was a weekly residency based on beat makers and DJs in Melbourne. I came from Perth, so I used to run events there under the name Flow Lab with a good friend of mine, Bradley. When I moved to Melbourne, it was a good chance to start over and create a new branding, try some new things. So after that weekly residency ended, I ended up moving to a different venue and turning it into a monthly night, changing the name from Comfy Beats to Uncomfortable Beats. Somewhere along the lines, I decided to put together like a compilation album of my friends' music, people that were playing at the event, and also people just locally in the scene. And eventually that monthly event came to an end after 1.5 years, but I kept doing these compilation releases, and somewhere along the line it sort of just turned into a label. So we still run events, but it's more product launches, festival takeover events, sort of things like that. I'd say the Melbourne scene is quite inspiring. Like, there's a lot going on. There's so much going on, it's really hard to keep track sometimes. But crews and artists that are inspiring to me, I'd say Beat Lab are doing some really great stuff. All the different artists there, you got Wallacey, Sadiva, Clay Adams doing some great stuff over in Phoenix, USA, and combining that with Australia. I'd say like you've got the Condensed Milk Collective, people like Armin Payne doing some really great and varied music. I'd say you've got really other like different type of crews like One Puff throwing like more rave music, house, and you've got dudes like 50/50 Grime, like Fracture and all those guys, putting some really cool grime music like on the map, you know, putting Australia on the map in terms of grime. Pang Productions are really good, doing lots of really great hip hop, and also incorporating lots of the UK cats into their label as well. And it's really cool to see how they do their thing. And lastly, the Operatives are doing some great stuff. Even though I'm part of the Operatives myself, like I still, you know, look up to the guys putting on some great events. Basically, all these guys are just mates. Like, it's just, I'm inspired by my mates. So essentially that's why I started Uncomfortable Beats, is because I've got so many talented mates. It'd just be awesome, you know, if their music was showcased on a different platform or a platform. So sometimes it's really just, I see a mate doing some really great music, and you know, their talent should be appreciated more, I feel. So sometimes it's me putting in my 2 cents of, hey man, let's get your shit together, let's get your shit out there, and in a cohesive format, and see what happens. Sweet, so yeah, the new single just dropped. The actual full release is coming out very soon on July the 1st. I'll be doing a launch at Section 8 on the 8th, on Sunday the 8th, with dudes like Turtle Jones and Non-Entity and a whole bunch of crew. The EP is called Program 3. Basically, it started a couple years ago. It's the 3rd in the series. It features different rappers and singers. The idea behind the Program series is more of like an experiment into like electronic beats and more synth-driven beats. Because I used to write all kinds of different beats, but this is me going away from the more traditional sample-based chopping up format and more into full-range composition of beats. And also not thinking too deeply about it. It's more just like, it's a synthy banging beat with some sick raps on it. That's pretty much what it is. Yeah, so Program 1 dropped in, I believe it was 2014, with the second one dropping 2016, so now it's 2018. Funnily enough, like all the music came together really, really quickly, so I kind of anticipated dropping them like 6 months after each other, but life gets in the way and lots of other musical projects. But the idea behind it as well is just like, through each one, it's been a revision of that sound, that particular sound. So I felt like from the very beginning, my idea was to put 3 of them out and work with the same artist and certain soundscapes. and at the same time hone those sounds to get better and better out of them. And my idea was like, after 3 of them, I'll kind of have a pretty good idea of what I'm doing in that terrain. So the artist I've been working with is a guy called Ryan Basario, who's an old mate from Perth. Also was known as YouLikePlanes.com. He's done the artwork, and it's really, really awesome, and really happy with everything, how that's all gone. Yeah. So Bodies actually was a tune that started 2 years ago. I met this artist Parko the G-Train Bandit when he was on tour from New York and visiting Melbourne. So I think he was playing some gigs around, and my cousin Brian Kruger James linked me up with him. So I think it was like maybe the next night we went out for some beers at the local bar, Section 8. The idea was to come back to the studio, start a new beat. I had actually started a beat just randomly the night before, which was actually turned out to be the beat for Bodies. So I played that to Parker when he got into the studio, like the demo version of it. And he was like, oh, we could just roll with that. And I was like, sweet, too easy. So we actually spent the evening, rather than recording and writing lyrics and stuff, we workshopped the beat together. So Parker had some really cool, interesting ideas about the structure. We also layered some new we made a completely new section, which ended up being the chorus section. So that was a really cool collaborative process. And rather than actually demoing lyrics and creating like a idea of how the lyrics would go, or writing a verse, we ended up just penning rhythmical ideas of how the chorus could go, and ideas about the energy, and didn't even have actual words. It was just more placeholders of rhythm and style. So that was a really cool creative process. And then when Parker went back to New York, he ended up recording his verse. And when he was in the studio recording his verse, the Redders actually was there, the other MC feature on the track, who I had no idea existed. Like, I didn't know anything about him. So when Parker sent his stems to me, he was like, oh, by the way, my friend was in the studio at the time and he wanted to hop up on the beat. You don't have to use it, but it's there if you want it. And I listened to it and I was like, that's fire. We're definitely using that. Awesome. Like, I had another feature in mind for the tune, but they were being a bit long. So I was like, that's perfect. I'm really happy with both your verses. Mixed it and then sat on it for like a year. And there it is, now it's out. So the way, if you want to get in contact with me for collaborations or remixes or whatever it be, would probably be through Facebook or Twitter. I'm at Able8 on both of those. ABLE number 8, no spaces. You could try, you can find my email on some of these things. You can, if you want to submit demos for Uncomfortable Beats, the label, you can send that to info@uncomfortablebeats.com or apply through the website. We've also started a YouTube channel called The Guilty Party, which is run by myself, Joe Snow and Sinks. So you can submit videos for that at The Guilty Party Leads or on Facebook. Yeah, but basically I'm online on all the different social media. I'm not too hard to find, so feel free to send me a message about whatever. I'm not normally the kind of dude that just like makes heaps and heaps of beats, so quite often I get rappers hitting me up saying, oh, send me a pack of beats, but I actually don't have time to just create it. Like, I don't have time to just invest into making all these different beats with no purpose. Normally I'll be writing specifically for projects, so sometimes it's slower and sometimes I don't have time to work on all the projects I like to work on, but I like to, I only finish a beat when I have a vision for it as such, yeah.